So great to see everybody here joining us. My name is Conrad Ng. I'm the Executive Director of Shangri, the Museum of Islamic Art, Culture, and Design. Totally happy that you could join us tonight, this afternoon actually, and that you accepted our invitation and didn't think that this was some kind of crazy thing when we said, what's a mural jam? What's a mural jam at Shangri? Well, first of all, Shangri is a museum for learning about the global culture of Islamic art and design. We do that through educational and digital initiatives, through public programs, through guided tours, and sort of fun events like this. One of the things that we want to do is to show how Shangri is more than just the life that Doris Duke had lived in there, but rather it's a story about the cultures and people and the concerns of those regions of North Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, and how they inspired her, and how they spoke a language that was different. Indeed, one of the things you think about in terms of a mural jam and having a mural on display, it's similar to the collections that we have at Shangri. In fact, a lot of the collections that you saw and walked through the galleries were of living cultures, of people in intimate spaces, whether places of worship, or the family home, or in the streets. And all those objects, all the stories in there reflect, actually, a story about power. Who could purchase what? Who made what? Were women allowed to do something? Were men only allowed to do something? Who controlled the domestic space? Who created the art of a culture? So what's interesting about Shangri and about tonight in the Mural Jam is to think about how the street and the streets of the people and the culture are the museum itself. And that museums aren't elitist organizations or elitist fortresses of culture where you think to yourself that artwork is in there because it's valuable. Well, what we believe is what's valuable is happening out here in the streets, and that's what a Mural Jam is all about. Part of our program is to invite one of the most amazing artists that I think is working today. It's Bahia Shehab. She, as part of her day job, teaches art and design at the University of Cairo. But one of the things that she realized and brought into existence for many of us is an idea of how you can represent this feeling that we might have during troubling times. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want to say no. I want to say no to war. I want to say no to sexism. I want to say no to rape. So one of the amazing things that Bahia did was bring into existence for many of us who believe that we are part of the fabric of the culture around us, about the government around us. We're kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired. Well, let's bring that onto the streets, and that's what Bahia's 1,000 Times No accomplished. So we said, why don't you come to Shangri and think about what we would be talking about here. And that's what this Mural Jam is about, is bringing alive the cultures and voices of creation, of struggle, of universal things that we believe in. So please join me in welcoming Bahia.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. It's been quite an exciting journey. I've been showered with kindness from the Shangri-La team. I'll tell you the story of the mural. So after saying no 1,000 times in many cities around the world, I felt that as an artist I have other things that I needed to say. And I started using poetry and painting poetry in different cities around the world. And to me, poetry was an interesting tool to have a conversation on the street with everybody who's passing by on the street. What I love about street art is that it's a conversation. Everybody can join, refuse or accept what you're saying. So as a tool of expression, I found that it's useful to build bridges between cultures, between people, but also to create dialogue when something is making us uneasy. So far I've painted 12 walls, and this is the 13th wall I paint. And in every poem I paint, it's by the same poet. He's a Palestinian poet. His name is Mahmoud Darwish, and he's the poet of Arab resistance. So his poetry really represents the human condition. You'd think only for the Palestinians, or you'd think only for people in the Arab world. But once you start reading him, you discover that it's for people all around the world. So, for example, I painted one mural on an island in Greece, and it was for the people who were drowning at sea, and the poem read, "Those who have no land have no sea." So for Shangri-La, I always like to read a bit on where I'm going to be working or painting a wall. And I felt that there are a lot of issues that need to be discussed here, but also for us in different parts of the world. So I will be reading a bit of the poem for you later on, but I'll tell you what the stanza read. So it reads, "My people will return as air and light and water." So when we read the poem later on, you'll get the flow of where he was going with this. But it's really a poem about decolonization and really thinking of what do we want and how do we come back when we are faced with aggression and oppression. How do we respond to that, and how do we reply? And I noticed that there's no fire. It's water, wind, and light. And to me that was also very significant. A peaceful struggle is the most difficult struggle, to keep it peaceful and not use violence. So in that sense, to me this poem, in such a peaceful place, and such a significant place for me, I was honored to be invited here. Not only as an artist, but also as a historian. The collection is really precious, because a woman collected it for once, and this was interesting, but also because she, to me, was a visionary in the sense that she saw how Islamic art was being a living art, how people lived with the art, and she tried to live with it here and bring it to life here. And that is really beautiful to see, because this is disappearing in all parts of the world. Islamic art is no longer an art of living, it's becoming an art in a museum. But coming here to Shangri-La, it was lovely to see that the art is still alive. And bringing people like me and others is also very significant, because it means that Shangri-La is trying to lead on the conversation on what is Islamic art today. How do you talk about Islamic art today, and what is Islamic art? So there needs to be a dialogue, and I'm so glad and honored that this dialogue is taking place here in such a significant place at this point in history, at this point in time where we really need to talk about bridges, and we really need to talk about how do we come together as people, how do we solve our problems. And every city I go to, I find that we're all in the same boat. It's the same problems, it's just a different face. But really the human suffering is the same everywhere. And what unites us is this humanity that we have. So this is the story for the mural, but also the visual influence for me came. Some of you might see like a Space Invader pixelated script. And at face value, this is what I want. I want it to be modern and futuristic and fun, because Arabic can also be that, to everybody's surprise. But another important influence is 13th century Kufic writing, which is a very classical Islamic form. But this Islamic form of writing grows into the sky, and it creates floriations and trees. But for me, I turned this upside down so they become roots, because the words are still coming out. They're not trees yet, they haven't flourished. So instead of having floriated Kufic, it's the root of the letter that's coming out. And the third influence is the Palestinian stitching that women would spend hours to sit and weave their dresses out of. So these are the three main influences artistically for the mural. And I chose black and white. Color was a very difficult decision for me because this is such a beautiful place and it's filled with everything is stunning, like from the trees and the artwork and the building and the ocean. And I didn't feel like forcing any color would have a meaning. And I wanted the message to stay simple and clean, so I stayed with the simplicity of the black and white so that the beauty of the place can support it. But I'm also glad to announce that we will have another exhibition in September. I hope you'll be able to visit it. I won't be here, unfortunately, but I hope you'll all send me photos when the opening takes place. And I was invited to reflect on the collection, on the Shangri-La collection, and that was so exciting because I'm a historian and an artist, and looking at the artwork and the collection that they had and coming up with a new form of expression for it was very exciting. So I'll tell you the name of one. There are going to be 3 artworks on display in September, but one of them is called The Women of Shangri-La. So I hope you'll be able to see that. I'm going to read a bit of poetry and I will be joined by my friend Navid. So as I told you, the poet's name is Mahmoud Darwish, and he is the poet of the resistance. I will be reading the Arabic, and Navid is going to be generously translating. So the name of the poem is خطبة الهندي الأحمر ما قبل الأخيرة أمام الرجل الأبيض.
The Red Indians, penultimate address to the white man.
ونحن نودع نيراننا لا نرد التحية.
We bid our fires farewell, and we don't return the greeting.
لا تكتبوا علينا وصايا الإله الجديد إله الحديد ولا تطلبوا معاهدة للسلام من الميتين.
Don't write the decrees of the new God, the iron God upon us, and don't ask the dead for a peace treaty. None of them remain to promise you peace with the self and others.
لم يبقى منهم أحد يبشركم بالسلام مع النفس والآخرين وكلنا هنا نعمر أكثر لولا بنادق إنجلترا والنبيذ الفرنسي والإنفلونزا.
We had longevity here before England's rifles, before French wine and influenza.
وكنا نعيش كما ينبغي أن نعيش برفقة شعب الغزال.
We used to live as we should live, companions of the deer.
ونحفظ تاريخنا الشفهي وكنا نبشركم بالبراءة والأقحوان.
We memorized our oral history. We used to promise you innocence and daisies.
لكم ربكم ولنا ربنا ولكم أمسكم ولنا أمسنا.
You have your God and we have ours. You have your past and we have ours. And time is a river. When we stare into the river, time wells up within us.
والزمان هو النهر حين نحدق في النهر يغرورق الوقت فينا ألا تحفظون قليلا من الشعر كي توقفوا المذبح ألم تولدوا من نساء ألم ترضعوا مثلنا حليب الحنين إلى أمهات.
Will you not memorize a bit of poetry to halt the slaughter? Were you not born of woman? Did you not cycle as we did the milk of longing for mothers?
ألم ترتدوا مثلنا أجنحة لتلتحقوا بالسنونو.
Did you not wear wings as we did to join with the swallows?
وكنا نبشركم بالربيع فلا تشهروا الأسلحة.
We used to announce spring to you, so don't draw your weapons.
وفي وسعنا أن نتبادل بعض الهدايا وبعض الغناء.
We can exchange some gifts and some songs.
هنا كان شعبي.
My nation was here.
هنا مات شعبي.
My nation died here.
هنا شجر الكستناء يخبئ أرواح شعبي.
Here the chestnut trees hide my nation's souls.
سيرجع شعبي هواء وضوءا وماء.
My nation will return as air and light and water.
Thank you.